That is the next frontier in the good fight. And the question becomes, how do we respond when white supremacists and haters utilize social media, again, to spread their slander and to share their stereotypes? And it shouldn't surprise us that extremists exploit these new technologies, because other normal mainstream channels typically are shut off to them. So again, they are innovating and trying to use these platforms. They've gone from burning crosses in fields to burning up Twitter. They've gone from hiding behind their white hoods to hiding behind their smartphones. The difference is, now again, where do we find that hate? Not reserved in some cornfield. Right here, in our pocket, in our kids' pockets, in our homes, in our bedrooms, in our most intimate spaces. And it has implications. You know, we've seen entire Jewish communities trolled and harassed, like Whitefish, Montana, last year. We've seen Jewish journalists targeted and outed, like Jonathan Weissman, who you're going to hear from this afternoon, who wrote a whole book, in part based on his experience, being inundated with anti-Semitism online. And we've seen the spread of hateful memes, like the echo symbol. And again, Jonathan's book, which he'll talk about today, the cover is the word Semitism with the echo symbol that was invented by white supremacists and used to try to tag Jews online. Now, it would be easy to think about viral hate as the act of organized hate groups, but that's wrong. Today, I am proud to unveil our new report showing, for the time, in actual numbers, the extent and reach of anti-Semitism online. Can we see that? Do we have it on the screens? There we go. So, that's the new report. Quantifying hate. A year of anti-Semitism on Twitter. So our new data shows that it's not just a small subset of organizations or groups, but millions of Twitter accounts, many of them used by unaffiliated haters who are leveraging social media to spread anti-Semitism and other forms of speech. 3 million plus accounts spreading and streaming the kind of thing that was never before acceptable, you know, and still isn't in public conversation. We're talking about literally over 80,000 tweets a week. Now, I had someone say to me, well, that's not really that many. That's not really a lot. Let me tell you something. When you get a tweet like this in your inbox, when your child goes online and opens up Twitter and sees a tweet like this, your 12-year-old grandchild, your 15-year-old daughter who's doing a project for school, and she says to you, well, what is the hoax? And she says to you, is it true that we Jewish people were behind the Las Vegas shooting? This is real. This is a clear and present danger to our communities, which is why for the past year our Center on Extremism has been pushing the envelope to develop new ways to quantify hate. And the report I'm sharing with you today is a result of this deep dive. Using a complex set of keywords developed by our experts, the leading experts in the United States on anti-Semitism, perhaps the world, combined with an intensive human review. Again, we're harnessing the smarts from our Center on Technology and Society and combining it with our historical knowledge of anti-Semitism and intolerance. We've been able to put a number on the actual quantity of anti-Semitic tweets in English over the past year. And the numbers speak for themselves. The 4.2 million you saw a few moments ago, the 3 million plus accounts that are generating these tweets. I mean, this is sinister, real stuff. And it has a human impact. Don't let anyone tell you that 3 million isn't that many. when Twitter has hundreds of millions of users. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Any one of these tweets, any one of these messages would get a child suspended from school, could get an NFL owner forced out of the league, would get a colleague fired from work. And yet today, for us as Jews, for other minorities, we're told you just have to accept this. This is just how it is. Well, we're not satisfied with how it is. We aspire to create what it will be. And so I think this report is important because it represents a snapshot. And this hateful language has an outsized presence on social media, and if we ever hope to change things, we've got to tackle it. So I should note that Twitter is responding. I'm proud that the ADL is a member of the Twitter Trust and Safety Council, and the company has made changes in part based on our recommendations that we released in our 2016 report. And they've created rules. The problem is that these rules are being violated over and over and over and over again. And it's a unique challenge when it comes to monitoring offensive speech. Again, think about it. As I was maybe alluding to, if not being specific, there are trillions of tweets sent every year. And Twitter's just the beginning. YouTube reports 300 hours of user-generated content uploaded every minute. Do the math. Think about your kids or your grandkids. How do they access video content today? I guarantee you, if you have grandchildren, they are not doing it turning on the television and clicking the dial. They're opening their phones because they all have them, and they're going first to YouTube. So that's why we need to up our game, and that's why we're engaging in this way. In an environment where Facebook has over 2.1 billion members, making it larger than any country on the planet Earth, we have no choice but to engage and go right there. That is the front line in fighting hate. And so the danger we have is that this hate, which has been normalized online, will indeed seep into the offline world, or as they say, IRL, in real life. And when we see white supremacists flyering and appearing in person on college campuses, and when we see hostile, hateful language being directed at Jewish people, or wild, outrageous claims that we're somehow anti-black or anti-Muslim, and when we see then the memes and the graffiti and the images showing up, graffitied, if you will, on Jewish fraternity houses or public places, it reminds us of the connection. It reminds us of the, not just the correlation, the causality. And that's what we've got to deal with. How virtual hate can fuel real-world acts of intimidation, harassment, vandalism, and ultimately violence. You know, at ADL, we've been working on issues of cyber hate, as we talked about last night, and our Balzer laureate, Chris Wolf, is here in the front row. He helped to lead this work at ADL and put us at the front of the line years ago. The challenge is this continues to move and shift. The challenge is the pace of technological change is so rapid. We can't wait for Congress to figure it out. Many of our senators and members still think you use AOL disks to get online. And you think that's a joke. But when someone gives you the email address with the AOL.com email, that's a tip, that's a sign. Some of you, you know what I'm saying. Those of you with Hotmail email addresses, the 90s wants their email account back. It's true. But look, we were, I would say, the first organization to identify the threat, and we are working today to build on that lead. because our community demands that we do that. So in the past 3 years, we've worked diligently, not just with Congress people, as I'm saying, but with the companies themselves to ensure that they take the issue seriously. And I'm encouraged about the progress we've made through our Center on Technology and Society. I'm encouraged by their efforts. They've seen the path-breaking research we've done through our Center on Extremism. And they realize that this is not just a concern for a small group of stakeholders in the Jewish community or a small group of stakeholders in the Muslim community. This is a problem for their shareholders. Because if these companies cannot maintain the public trust, they will not maintain their leadership as public companies. So that's why we're working directly with the industry, as well as with the policymakers, to make change. So the report is out today. I was pleased to see the Washington Post has already picked it up. And there'll be more to talk about, not only today and tomorrow, but in the weeks and months ahead. Our work on cyber is as important today as anything this organization has ever done. And so we will continue, we will be focused, and we will be relentless in prosecuting the fight against hate online, just as we have done offline for 105 years. But I'll say in closing, not only is the report noteworthy because we provide examples of what's happening, examples like what I've shown you on the screen and what you saw in the landmark report we did in 2016, but in addition, we make recommendations for what the companies should do. See, I don't think it is sufficient to say we have a problem. I don't think it is adequate to say, Silicon Valley, you have to deal with this. It is incumbent upon us to say, Silicon Valley, we will work with you to deal with it. And again, as I said before, Twitter is an example of a company that has shown leadership. They have taken direct action, and they deserve praise for that, even as we note that the problems persist and they need to do more. All right, so there's a lot more to talk about in terms of what we're doing online. There's a lot more to talk about in terms of our collaboration with industry to find new solutions to combat online hate. And ultimately, there's a lot more to do to work with all of you to make that case and to make it part of your good fight.